A very good morning to all the students. This video for the class 7th, subject science, chapter number 10, that is respiration in organisms. So this is your lecture number 4, that is summary. In today's lecture, I'm going to summarize this chapter number 10. Okay, so let's start this lecture with the first topic, that is respiration. What do you mean by the term respiration? So respiration is the process of releasing energy by breaking down of food in the cell. This is the respiration. Respiration takes place in a cell organelle called as mitochondria in the cytoplasm, that is present in the cytoplasm. Or we can say that we have already learned that all the living things are made up of the cell, and the cell perform a number of functions like nutrition, transport, secreting chemicals. So here, to perform all these functions, a cell needs energy. So cell gets its energy by breaking down the food that is present in it. So this is the process of releasing the energy by breaking down of food in the cell is called as respiration. So for respiration, the oxygen that is needed is taken in by breathing process. Okay, in the respiration process, the release of energy during the cellular respiration, here glucose reacts with oxygen, it releases some energy, and the carbon dioxide and water is formed. Glucose is just like a food that you are taking. Okay, in the presence of oxygen, it breaks down, this food is get break down and releases some energy, that is respiration. Okay, and this respiration is a complex process which involved taking enough oxygen and using it to breaking down that food to release this energy, and during this process the carbon dioxide is released as a waste product. Okay, so this carbon dioxide is eliminated from the cell. From this we understand the breathing is the part of respiration. Okay, respiration and breathing is a different thing. Respiration is the releasing of energy by breaking down of food in the cell. Okay, next is, why do we respire? We respire to get the energy. First one, the cell can perform this function only if they get the energy to do so. Second is, hence all the living organisms need food which gives them the required energy, and we need energy for all the activities like eating, talking, thinking, moving, standing, etc. Even when we are sleeping, our vital organs like the heart, kidney and brain and lungs keep working, and the variation function of the body like the digestion, respiration and circulation keep the taking place. So this energy needed for all these process is supplied by the respiration. So during the respiration, food is broken down and the cells, and energy is released. Generally glucose is the main food that is broken down. That's why we respire. Okay, moving on, the next topic is types of respiration. There are the two types of respiration. First is the aerobic respiration, second is anaerobic respiration. Here the aerobic respiration, it is the type of cellular respiration that takes place in the presence of oxygen to produce the energy. It is a continuous process that takes place within the cell of animals and plants. So firstly, aerobic respiration is when the breakdown of food occurs with the use of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. Okay, this is the equation of aerobic respiration. And one more thing, the organisms are called as aerobes. Okay, during the aerobic respiration, this glucose is completely broke down to the carbon dioxide. Okay, the C6H12O6 completely break down into the carbon dioxide 6CO2. Okay, and water and a large amount of energy is also released. Firstly, during the aerobic respiration, this glucose is completely broken down to the carbon dioxide and water, and the large amount of energy is released, and it occurs in most organisms like insect, worms, fish, frogs, birds, human beings, and all the animals that we see. This is it about the aerobic respiration. Next is the anaerobic respiration. So in anaerobic respiration, it is a type of cellular respiration that takes place in the absence of oxygen to produce the energy. Okay, when the breakdown of food occurs without the use of oxygen, it is called as anaerobic respiration, and the organisms are called as anaerobes. Okay, this is the equation of anaerobic respiration. Here, during the anaerobic respiration, there is an incomplete or the partial breakdown of glucose. This glucose is partial breakdown, okay, and much energy is released. There is the less energy is released in this anaerobic respiration. In yeast and plants, glucose is broken down into alcohol, that is C2H5OH. Okay, but in animals, this glucose is broken down into lactic acid, only in animals. Okay, in yeast and plants, this glucose without any oxygen breaking down into the alcohol plus carbon dioxide, and there is a less energy is released. Next is the difference between the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration occur in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration occur in the absence of oxygen. In aerobic respiration, glucose is completely oxidized. Okay, glucose is completely broken down to the carbon dioxide and water. But in anaerobic respiration, glucose is broken down incompletely. Okay, it incompletely partially breaking down of glucose, and there is less energy is released in anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, the end products are carbon dioxide and water. In anaerobic respiration, end products are either alcohol and the carbon dioxide. In human being, it's lactic acid. In aerobic respiration, there is a more energy is produced, but in anaerobic respiration, a very little energy is produced. Aerobic respiration occurs in most of the plants and animals. Anaerobic respiration occurs in few organisms like yeast, some bacteria, some parasitic worms, and in humans. Okay. Next is about the anaerobic respiration in human beings. Sometimes muscles of human beings can respire without oxygen. So this generally happens when we undergo a heavily exercise such as running, weightlifting, cycling, or the walking for a longer duration of the time. Or in such situation, the muscles require more energy and the supply of oxygen is not enough. So hence, the anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscles. As you can see in this picture, here in anaerobic respiration, in human being, during the heavily exercise running and gymnastic, our muscles start aching because they start respiring the anaerobically. Okay, because as the demand for oxygen become much more than, so what is supplied by the respiration? So as a result, a temporary deficiency of oxygen occurs in the muscles. To meet the demand of the body muscles, the cell start respiring anaerobically. in the absence of oxygen. Okay, so in the absence of oxygen, this glucose break down partially and to form lactic acid and release some energy. So the energy produced helps in the activity being done, and lactic acid start accumulating in the muscles. Okay, so this accumulation of lactic acid cause muscle ache and cramps in your muscles. Okay, so these muscle cramps can be relieved by providing hot water fermentation or massaging that area, because they increase the circulation of blood. Okay, increasing of circulation of blood means increasing the supply of oxygen that help in breaking down of lactic acid into the carbon dioxide. Okay, this is it about the anaerobic respiration in human beings. So the breathing can be defined as a process in which organisms, with the help of their respiratory organs, take in the oxygen air present in the surrounding and release out the air that contain high amount of carbon dioxide in it. So basically, breathing is the essential for all the living beings. When we breathe, we take in the oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide during the exhalation. Okay, this is the breathing process. Breathing, it requires two processes. So the first process in breathing is inhalation. Inhalation is the process of taking the air that contains oxygen inside the body. Next is exhalation. Exhalation is the process of releasing out air that contains carbon dioxide out of the body. Inhalation and exhalation takes place alternatively in the breathing process. In this picture, you can see the breathing process, inhalation and exhalation. In inhalation, it refers to taking in of air from the atmosphere. Okay, when it takes the air from the atmosphere, their ribs moves up or outward in direction. If the ribs moves up, so the diaphragm moves down. So your diaphragm gets contract. Okay, and the space in the chest cavity, that will be increased during inhalation, and this air rushes into the lungs. So lungs get filled with the air in inhalation process. First, when you take the air from the atmosphere, your chest expands and your ribs moves up and outward in direction, and the diaphragm moves down. Okay, or diaphragm gets contract. After that, this air rushes into the lungs and lungs get filled with the air. Next, in the exhalation process, it refers to giving out the air from the lungs. So here the ribs moves down and in inward position. Okay, and your diaphragm moves up to the original curved position, or your diaphragm get relaxed during exhalation. Okay, and the space in the chest cavity get decreases, and this air is pushed out to the lungs. Okay, pushed out from the lungs, and this lungs reduces in size as the air goes out. Okay, this is the breathing process in human body. In the next topic, that is, why do we sneeze? So as we inhale the air present in the surrounding, sometimes the various unwanted elements such as smoke and dust, pollens are also included in it. Okay, so however, they get stuck in the hair in a nostril, but some of them can get through the nasal cavity. So in sneezing happens when some irritation occur in the nasal passage or in the nostrils. It could be due to the dust, pollen or smoke. So it's a spontaneous response, okay, and takes place without one's control. It is also a response of the body to expel the unwanted particles in the inhaled air. Since a sneeze can throw the particle a far distance, so it is advised to always cover the nose and mouth while sneezing. Okay. Yeah, and they thus cause irritation in the nasal cavity, which make us sneeze. Next is, how do we breathe? So this is the breathing process, or we can say the respiratory organ in human body. As you can see, the first part is the nasal cavity, second is the nostril that is present. This is the oral cavity. From your food goes down into your esophagus, then the pharynx, this is the larynx, here the trachea from the air passed, this is the right main bronchia, this is the left main bronchus, this is right lung, this is left lung, and this is the diaphragm here. So when we breathe in, the air enters through your nostrils, okay, and then passes through the windpipe and reaches our lungs. Just the reverse happens when we breathe out. The air from our lungs, it passes through our windpipe and come out through a nostril. So the passage of the air in human respiratory system during inhalation is, first is the air goes from the nostril, then the nasal cavity, then it goes to pharynx, then larynx, then trachea, this is the trachea, or we can say it's a windpipe, then it goes to the bronchi, and then at last it goes to lungs. Okay. Next is about the passage of the air in human respiratory system. So first is the nostril. Air goes into the nostril, then it goes to the nasal cavity, pharynx, then trachea, and it goes to bronchi, at last it goes to lungs. Okay, this is the passage of air in human respiratory system in human body. Next is, what do we breathe out? During the exhalation process, the 4 to 5% carbon dioxide is exhaled, or we can say the exhaled air is rich in the carbon dioxide during exhalation. The composition of exhaled air in the exhalation process is, the carbon dioxide percentage is 4 to 5%, and the oxygen is 17 to 80%, 74.9, or we can say that the 75% is inert nitrogen gas, and 6.2% is water during exhalation. Next, in the breathing process, inhaled air is rich in oxygen. So the composition of inhaled air in oxygen is 21%, carbon dioxide is 0.04%, and nitrogen is 78%, and the water content is 0.5% during the inhalation. So this is the composition of inhaled air, this is the composition of in exhalation. Okay, moving on the next topic, that is breathing in other organisms. So human beings have the lungs as the breathing organs. Just like human beings, many animals like elephant, lion, cows, dogs, frogs, okay, but there are many organisms which do not have lungs. So they have the different type of breathing organs, like cockroach have the tracheal system, earthworm have the special skin, and many aquatic animals like fish have the gills. So we are going to study about the breathing in cockroach. So many insects like cockroaches have the small opening called the spiracles that is present on the side of the bodies. So also they have an air tube like structure called the trachea that allows the exchange of the gases in these insects. They have the tube like structures called trachea that allows the exchange of the gases in these insects. The air enters the body through the spiracles and diffuse in the cell via the trachea. So Similarly, the air from the cell enters the trachea and moves out of the body through the spiracles. So as you can see in this picture, this is the respiratory system of cockroach. So cockroach have the tracheal system, okay. Cockroach and other insects have the special system of air tubes called as tracheal tubes. So the other insects have the special system of air tubes called the tracheal tubes. So this is, as you can see in this line here, this is the tracheal tube system, okay, for the breathing purpose. They have the small opening called as spiracles. These are the small opening here. So these are spiracles, okay, on the side of their body. So spiracles are internally connected to a network of air tube called as trachea, okay, which spread through the wall body. So the oxygen rich air enters through the spiracles into the network of the tracheal tubes, and through this network the air reaches all the cell of the body, and in the cell the oxygen diffuses into the cell, okay, and simultaneously the carbon dioxide diffuse out into the tracheal tube, okay, which finally leaves through the spiracles. Firstly, the air rich oxygen goes to the spiracles, then it goes to trachea, then it goes to tracheal tubes, and then it goes to all the body cell, okay. This is the respiratory system of cockroach. Moving on the next topic, that is breathing in earthworm. So earthworm do not have any special breathing organs, so their entire skin act as a breathing organ for the exchange of gases. So hence the gases can easily pass in and out of the earthworm through its skin. So as you can see in this picture, in the earthworm have a very thin, moist and the slimy skin through which the exchange of gases takes place, okay. So the oxygen that diffuse in and the carbon dioxide that diffuse out through the moist skin. This is the moist skin of the earthworm. So this oxygen diffuse in and the carbon dioxide diffuse out through this skin, okay. Next, moving on the next topic, that is breathing in fish. So animals that live underwater have the special respiratory organs called as gills, okay. Fishes have the gills. So fish are the aquatic animals and have the special structure called gills for the breathing in water. They are comb-like structure present on the skin of these animals, and gills allows the exchange of gases between animals and water easily. Some animals called the amphibians can breathe on the land by lungs and through the moist skin under water. For example, frogs and toads. As you can see in this picture, the breathing process in fish. Fish are the aquatic animals and have the special structure called as gills. So these are the gills that you can see here through the skin, okay. So gills are the thin leaf-like projection present on both the side of the body. So they are richly supplied with blood vessels for the exchange of gases. When the water passes over the gills, this water goes in and it passes over the gills, and the dissolved oxygen from the water diffuses into the blood, okay, and then the carbon dioxide from the blood diffuses out into the water. First, water in the mouth, it goes into the gills. So gills helps in the exchange of gases and the water out from the blood, okay. Next, moving on the next topic, that is respiration in plants. As we all know that the plants also respire, they take in the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere and use it in the process of photosynthesis, okay, to produce the food. So as a result of photosynthesis in plants, they release out the oxygen in the environment. So as you can see in this picture, the respiration in plants differ from the animal in a way that in plants they are the no specific organs for the breathing, and each parts like the stem, leaf, root, they respire independently. Okay, and the exchange of gases in plants occur by the diffusion of gases. So the first is about the lenticels or exchange of gases in stem. So the woody stem of the plant also respire. This is because of the presence of special tissues called as lenticels. So this is the picture in the lenticels on the bark of trees. These are the lenticels that is present here. So these are the tissue in the woody stem of the plants. They respire through the lenticels. Okay, in stem, the exchange of gases in the stems occurs through the small opening, okay, on the surface of the stem. These are called as lenticel. Lenticel are group of loosely packed, thin-walled dead cell with air spaces in between, and these air spaces, through these space reaches the living cell present beneath. Okay, so stem take in oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide through the lenticels. Okay, next is about the respiration in leaves through the stomata. So leaves have the many tiny pores present called as stomata. So these stomata present on the surface of the leaves for the exchange of gases. So the carbon dioxide enters and the water and oxygen exits through the leaf, that is from the stomata. Okay, so this oxygen goes out and this carbon dioxide goes in through the stomata. So this is the respiration in leaves through the stomata. Next is about the why the plants can die if overwatered. We know that the roots get oxygen from the soil. So if we overwater the plants, the space between the soil particles get clogged. Okay, as a result the roots will not able to get enough air and the plant can die. So in this picture you can see here how the exchange of gases in plants occur by diffusion of gases through the roots. So roots are present in the soil, so they have their roots here. So these are the root here, okay, that take in the oxygen from the air spaces that is present in between the soil particles, and the oxygen from the air spaces diffused in and the carbon dioxide diffused out from the root hairs. Okay, this oxygen from the air spaces diffused in, okay, diffused in, and the carbon dioxide diffused out by the root hairs. Okay.